Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 Origin Continent based on novel. So let's start. Chu Capital, the night shrouded in haze. In a common courtyard, Marquis Chu Ying was drinking alone when suddenly an invisible fluctuation enveloped him. Marquis Chu Ying felt the world around him change, and he found himself in an illusory realm. Marquis Chu Ying. Clouds condensed into a figure, who smiled at Marquis Chu Ying. I have been alone in this courtyard, waiting for you all for a long time. Marquis Chu Ying looked around. I didn't expect you to drag me into an illusory realm. Even the famous Two Realms Palace in the land of origin dares only meet me in an illusion. The cloud figure spoke. This is Chu Capital, personally crafted by primogenitor Luo Feng. We in the Two Realms Palace must also act cautiously, please forgive us, Marquis Chu Ying. Marquis Chu Ying looked at the other party. The Two Realms Palace, a massive force hidden in the dark on the land of origin, its inner members' identities a mystery. It was rumored that the weakest among them reached the second realm of Godly King, and there were even followers of the Yuan among them. Compared to primogenitor Luo Feng and primogenitor Lei Ting, Yuan was more revered in the land of origin. Yuan was aloof, merely leaving behind some powerful inheritances and precious resources. He himself was too lazy to accept disciples. Of course, there were some ancient beings who, having received Yuan's guidance, claimed themselves as disciples of Yuan. I am just an ordinary member of the Two Realms Palace. The cloud figure smiled at Marquis Chu Ying, however, helping Marquis Chu Ying to achieve a top ranking in this heavenly task would be an easy matter. You want to help me? Marquis Chu Ying looked at him. If he was an official member, this cloud figure would at least be of the second realm of Godly King. An existence that could crush him with a flick of a finger. However, as a first-class Marquis of the Imperial clan, Marquis Chu Ying naturally had his own pride. Marquis Chu Ying, the cloud figure said, you should understand, among the 7 first-class marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage, in terms of comprehension and potential, Marquis Chu Ying should be ranked first. Marquis Chu Feng, Marquis Chu Ji probably rank above you. Marquis Chu Ying listened. Their rivalry had lasted for years. Apart from the newly promoted Marquis Chu Yu, the other 6 marquises knew each other well. Without sufficient powerful assistance, you won't make it into the top 3. The cloud figure spoke. I can help you get into the top 3, but I need half of the resources you obtain. The cloud figure looked at Marquis Chu Ying. Marquis Chu Ying looked back at him, scoffed, half. These are resources of the imperial clan of Flame Wind ancient country, your Two Realms Palace really is bold. Everything is voluntary. I will not force you, the cloud figure said. If you refuse, I can leave right now and will no longer disturb you, Marquis Chu Ying. Marquis Chu Ying looked at him. Among the 7 first-class marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage, he was the least remarkable. Even the newly promoted Marquis Chu Yu had the backing of the great Saint Luo He, a transcendent of the primal chaos realm. If you help me, and I achieve first place this time, I will split half with you. Marquis Chu Ying said, if I take second, you can only have 20%. If third, only 10%. If I don't make it to the top 3, it means you are too useless and don't deserve to share the resources. The cloud figure shook his head. To fully assist you, I need to invest quite a bit of effort. If I take first, I want half. If second, 3/10. If third, 2/10. Anything lower, I can do without. The cloud figure looked at Marquis Chu Ying. This is my final offer. You may choose to refuse. Marquis Chu Ying looked at him, suddenly laughed. Very well, it's agreed then. See a th novel_fire.et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The cloud figure nodded. Since it's agreed, it has become calmer. Marquis Chu Ying, don't even think of reneging. The price of karmic backlash is something you cannot afford. After saying this, the cloud figure disappeared without a trace. Marquis Chu Ying felt the illusory realm dissipate, and he was still sitting at the table in the courtyard. The price of karmic backlash. Marquis Chu Ying slightly furrowed his brow. He was ultimately just at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm, and had never thought of cheating the inner members of the Two Realms Palace. If I obtain the most resources in this heavenly task, perhaps I have a chance to transform. Marquis Chu Ying had ambitions too. He was merely slightly less talented among the 7 first-class marquises, yet could cultivate to the pinnacle of primal chaos realm, which certainly showed he had potential. With enough resources, there was a chance to reach the godly king tier. The treatment of a first-class marquis of the imperial clan and godly king of the imperial clan was starkly different. Among the 7 first-class marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage, the most famous was Marquis Chu Ying. Marquis Chu Ying looked out of the window at the night sky. Buzz. He held the transmission token, beginning to contact a friend powerful enough. Sister Bai Yun. A crisp, cold voice resounded. Brother Chu Ying. Marquis Chu Ying was rather humble. Great Saint Bai Yun was the direct disciple of Emperor Qing. Emperor Qing, the strongest among the 13 emperors of flame-wind ancient country, was also adept in teaching disciples. This great Saint Bai Yun, being a transcendent of the primal chaos realm, was extraordinary and unparalleled, possessing treasures bestowed by Emperor Qing, making her incredibly formidable. This time, the 7 first-class marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage also need to compete. Marquis Chu Ying explained, the task of collecting the blood spirit golden pearls will also require your help, sister. Many imperial elites visited Master before, and Master always said, among those of Emperor Chu's lineage, Brother Chu Ying, your talent is the highest, certainly destined to become a godly king. The crisp voice spoke, Emperor Chu's lineage should allocate the best resources to you. Marquis Chu Ying was quite grateful to Emperor Qing. With just a word from Emperor Qing, Marquis Chu Ying's status skyrocketed, and he received a tilting of resources in his favor. Competition among the first-class marquises is a rule set by the ancestor. We still have to compete, Marquis Chu Ying said. Sister, do you have the time for this task of collecting blood spirit golden pearls? Leave it to me. Sister Bai Yun responded. I can't promise first place in collecting the blood spirit golden pearls, but I definitely won't hold you back. I appreciate your help, senior sister. Marquis Chu Ying heaved a sigh of relief. Emperor Qing's words had inclined some godly kings, even those transcended in the primal chaos realm, to be willing to make acquaintances with Marquis Chu Ying. However, the blood spirit golden pearls originated from the borders of 2 ancient countries, where conflicts were typically confined to the primal chaos realm level. If godly king level powers intervened, the border conflicts would escalate massively. To initiate a large-scale war between 2 nations for a subtask in a heavenly task. No one could bear the consequences. Limited to the primal chaos realm level, after much consideration, Marquis Chu Ying concluded that the most suitable helper would be Great Saint Bai Yun. Across the land of origin, among the 2 ancient countries and various other forces, both overt and covert, there were in total 71 who had transcended the primal chaos realm. Naturally, there was a variance in their strengths. Among those transcended in the primal chaos realm, senior sister Bai Yun ranks among the top, Marquis Chu Ying thought to himself. Asterisk 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 asterisk. On the day the heavenly task was issued, the 7 first-rank marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage were all devising plans. Luo Feng was originally walking in his cave mansion. Suddenly, Sir the Novelier.ne, T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. An invisible fluctuation enveloped Luo Feng, attempting to drag his consciousness into a virtual world. Buzz. Luo Feng's soul, on one hand stabilized by the Lai Yuan technique, and on the other hand protected by the Star Tower. The invisible fluctuation couldn't move Luo Feng's consciousness at all. Able to resist the summons from the Two Realms Palace. The presence in the shadows was somewhat shocked. Who? Luo Feng naturally felt that powerful dragging force, but with the Lai Yuan technique and the Star Tower simultaneously garrisoning, he naturally was fearless. Whoosh 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 tilde tilde tilde. The wind rose, naturally condensing into a vague figure that appeared before Luo Feng, with invisible fluctuations spreading around to isolate any spying. Great Saint Luo He, have you ever heard of the Two Realms Palace? The wind shadow, smiling, looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng was inwardly startled. Whether it was the lineage of his master, mountain sitting guest, Emperor Chu's lineage, or his currently elevated status, Luo Feng was somewhat familiar with some of the massive forces in the land of origin. The numerous forces in the land of origin were divided into overt and covert types. The overt major forces all had their territories, among them, the two ancient countries were most revered. Tianmu Kingdom, Wanjie Kingdom, the Eastern Extreme Domain, these were the overt first-rate forces. Yu Kingdom, Shi Kingdom, and many other nations were second-rate countries, along with many third-rate countries. Covert forces, however, appeared more mysterious. Covert forces, who were their members? How strong were they exactly? Many details remained enigmatic. Possibly even godly kings from the two ancient countries were involved, or even alien races from outside the braided cage. The Two Realms Palace was one of the top two major forces in secrecy. Two Realms Palace, you have matters with me. Luo Feng looked at the other. Luo He, you are currently just transcended in the primal chaos realm, unaware of the hardships of the cultivation path, the wind shadow said. Only when you become a godly king will you realize that the higher you go, every step is like a chasm. Luo Feng listened. He of course understood. The gap between the first realm of godly king and the ultimate realm was like the difference between mastering one of the 10 fundamental laws and the law of primal chaos. The difficulty was indeed multiples higher, naturally making it increasingly difficult the higher one ascended. In terms of resources, the two ancient countries will only cultivate the imperial clan, the Wind Shadow said. Even if you are Emperor Chu's direct disciple, he needs to take out a portion of his own resources for you. Now, your strength is weak. He is willing to give you some resources he can no longer use. But what about when you become a godly king in the future, become stronger? The more precious resources you need, which are also very important to him, will he still give them to you, the Wind Shadow said. In terms of cultivation guidance, you should concurrently cultivate in the great Tao of life origin, destruction, and matter, the Wind Shadow said. Emperor Chu can only teach you the great Tao of destruction. What about the other two great Taos of origin? What will you do? Luo Feng listened. Concurrently cultivate 3 great Taos. When did I start concurrently cultivating the origin Tao of matter? The two ancient countries are unwilling to part with their most precious resources, so it must be taken by force, Wind Shadow said, looking at Luo Feng. As for guidance, the great Tao of life origin and the origin Tao of matter, members within our Wanjie kingdom can guide you, and it will definitely be better than what Emperor Chu can teach. Luo Feng looked at him. What do you mean by all this? I can allow you to first become an outer member of the Wanjie kingdom, Wind Shadow said. The guidance you get in Wanjie kingdom will definitely surpass that of Emperor Chu. He doesn't really teach his disciples at all. What is it that you want from me? Luo Feng studied him. Join us. Wind Shadow looked at Luo Feng. I admire you greatly. It was initially just for a transaction, But when he found out he couldn't drag Luo Feng's consciousness into the virtual world, he changed his mind. Resisting the attraction of Wanjie Kingdom. This was quite rare. This heavenly task will serve as a minor test, Wind Shadow said. You continue to compete for the Blood Spirit Golden Pearls for Emperor Chu Yu, giving him 1 or 2. The rest of the Blood Spirit Golden Pearls are all mine. A minor test to see whether you are willing to join the Wanjie Kingdom, Wind Shadow said. You surely know, the identity of Wanjie Kingdom members is highly confidential. Joining us will only benefit you, there are no drawbacks. Luo Feng looked at him and scoffed. Marquis Chu Ying is my closest friend. You want me to betray a friend? Boom. Luo Feng waved his hand, and a disruption directly swept over Wind Shadow. Wind Shadow dispersed in shock. How dare you, Wind Shadow reformed, somewhat furious. To give him such disrespect. This is Chu capital. The Chu capital of my master. Luo Feng looked at him. You dare to act here, in Wanjie Kingdom. I must say, I do admire your courage. Wind Shadow was both angry and anxious. Emperor Chu, after all, was one of the pinnacle existences in the land of origin. He might not be invincible in the outer world, but within Chu capital, unless Ancestor Yang Feng and Ancestor Lei acted, Emperor Chu was invincible in the land of origin. Aren't you leaving? Luo Feng clearly didn't want to waste words with him. You don't even understand what Wanjie Kingdom means. Wind Shadow said coldly, nor do you understand what you have refused today. When you become a godly king, you will regret today. Having said this, Wind Shadow vanished without a trace. Luo Feng watched the scene, a cold smile playing on his lips. A bunch of self-righteous fellows. Even if his own sector beast Morosa grew to its pinnacle, could anyone in Wanjie Kingdom provoke a pinnacle sector beast? A bunch of people who only dared to skulk in the shadows. Morosa, Luo Feng communicated through his spiritual will. Master, Morosa immediately came over. Inside a layer of Star Tower. What is this? Morosa looked at the massive corpse of a golden scale beetle, its insides emanating a strong longing and calling, Master, is this for me? I feel that its help to me will far surpass the previous primal chaos realm corpses. Luo Feng watched him and smiled. This is the material for my cultivation. For Master's cultivation. Morosa looked somewhat disappointed, but he would not covet what belonged to his master. I have taken 1% of the materials from this golden scale beetle's body, which is enough for my cultivation, Luo Feng said. This corpse now belongs to you. Morosa was excitedly thrilled. This is no ordinary corpse. It might even be stronger than a normal godly king's corpse. Don't disappoint me, Luo Feng observed him. The fact that the golden scale beetle could engage in combat beyond its level with a godly king highlighted the unique nature of its physical body. Thank you, Master. Morosa was incredibly excited, sensing that this golden scale beetle's body might bring about a profound transformation in him. This video will end here.